Buckle up, we're going to get to prayers, but first I'm going to speak to you about Sikhism and Khalsa and all that, just briefly, to how it works truthfully in all religions. Remember I told you were bound by metaphysics, and it's not why I said it, it's Hashem, God, put that into my, the God of the Sikhs, put that into my mind, so I would say it, and then it leads into this. The same people, the reason I'm not, I'll start with this. The reason I'm not with a Sikh community is the same reason I'm not with the LDS community, is the same reason I'm not with the Christian community, because the criminals and devils that took over those communities took money to make it impossible for me to stay there. However, when that happens, you have completed your service. I don't care if it's one day, but much longer than one day for me, right? But because I proved to them that I was worthy, and of course, somebody was paying. And it may have been extorting them, because apparently they had some sex cult thing going on there. And that's how, it's like the Weinstein, actually Weinstein was probably used like that too. But the Epstein thing was used like that, to blackmail people. So the fact that they had some sex cult stuff going on in their history somewhere, they probably held that over their head. Like, if you allow this guy to have a normal life there and stay there, then we'll out you as a sex cult. And the only answer to that is to out him as a sex cult. Because, you can't let them do that forever. But they also put themselves into a future hell with that. Because they're taking God's religion. The sex isn't as bad as the other part. Like, people fall. They're sexual. They're all sorts of things. Right? That's part of what the religions actually tell you. But then they took that they did that and used that, people could trigger them to harm other people. So even before I met, let me think. No, it was after I had actually been to their winter solstice, where I definitely was drugged. And it wasn't I'm sure it wasn't in the food. They actually had, when they drugged me, they had Snatam Khalsa hand me what do they call those things? I was talking about a karma burger or whatever they call it. I was actually talking about it the other day. You make a lot of money with those veggie burgers. I don't remember what it was called, a Khalsa burger, or Dharma burger. I think that's what it was. So she hands me it, and they wanted me to believe it was in the burger, and it was her. Again, when they sense that there's a connection between me and another person, they make that person the bad person. And sometimes they are. That's their psychology. Again, it's part of CIA and that kind of thing. Oh, it's everywhere. They're psychos. Right. So I actually made a couple passes at their communities, and it just was the same bullshit. Right. But it's not, what I want to tell you, these are people that own Sikhism today. And it's not only them, it's also in India. They're driving people nuts with having their own country, and it's manipulated by spies to cause an oppression of their people. So it's actually people that hate Sikhs are driving Sikhs into that Khalistan shit. Their scriptures do not allow them to have a Khalistan, actually. It's like the same thing. The Torah Jews are correct. There is no, the advanced Judaism would tell you to give up the idea of a nation. And even in the New Testament, that form of Judaism would say it too. Now, again, if you have some property and you use it wisely and justly, that's another thing. But this idea that you need something on this planet other than what is really needed, and I'm not telling you to be a pauper at all. But before I went to them the second time, which is very shortly after having been, obviously, and not just drugged, I was operated. They were trying to get me to hit somebody. They're not testing me. And the people that are doing it know it's not a test. Right. That's one of the scams. It's an investigative test, or, a psychological test. They're the ones that need to be tested in prison for 20 years. And that's why they do it, because that's the truth. major criminal conspiracies. So what is Sikhism? It's nothing and everything. It is what it is. But it was probably about 2006, I believe. I was in Bonita Springs going to yoga. I had already moved magic, done all these wondrous miracle things across the United States in several places. But I kind of had settled into helping my mother and living in Naples and I'm not a rich man, and again, I consider Naples I consider Butler, where I am in Butler County, in a quote unquote trailer park, a higher class of living than Naples, Florida. And that's the truth. There's some issues here, but this is way better than Naples. It's a conglomerate of devils and thieves that steal the world away from everyone else. And it's not against rich people, but they even got poor people that do that there. It's called Golden Gate. Right. Sorry. So I'm leaving. I had a red Volkswagen Turbo, a Beetle back then, like a 2000 or so, 2001, something like that. Thank God for the people in Miami that got me that with bad credit, even though I paid $1 gazillion for it. It got me to the point that I could do my job for God. I could travel around. I could heal people. It looked good enough for me to, for people to think, okay, he's, part of the upwardly mobile, maybe, even just so you get entrance and talk to people. And again, I'm not proselytizing generally. I just point people in the direction of God. And I explain to them that God is real. It doesn't have to not be a religion. It doesn't have to be a religion. God is real and God is part of you, and you have a right to God. Don't let them take it. No matter who you are, you have a right to God. Don't let them take it. So I've done all these things. And again, I have nothing without God, and that's how it works. But I'm leaving yoga after a yoga class, and it wasn't Sikh yoga. It was just standard yoga. I was supposed to be affiliated with those people, but the deep state started playing games and we had to move on. That actually had all my answers. I need to get into massage there and some other things. But again, the deep state has a way of knowing that's your success. Again, they're anti-seers. They see for evil. We see for good. I call them not seers, N-O-T. Sounds a lot like Nazi, like a Nazi. So I'm leaving yoga, and I'm not imagining things. And I get this urge to floor the turbo bug. It's not a sports car, but it gets up and goes. Right. Especially if you only have like less than a quarter of a tank. So as I pick up speed, out of the corner of my eye, I see a spirit riding next to me. Like, you ever see the old, what's it called? The U.S. Pony Express or something like that? I think that's what it was called. The ones you take the mail in the West, how they look when they're, the horse is charging and going, right. And the rider, woo, 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 going, Go, doggy, go, go. So all of a sudden, there's this horse next to me and a rider. And I don't know if I was playing that music or I don't think I had that song. I was playing some song. And it was Guru Gobind Singh. And him and I were running neck and neck down Tamiami Trail. And then at a certain point, he just disappeared into, back into the spirit world. So I'm not worried about what you all think of me, what the Sikhs thought of me, whether you consider me a Sikh or not. Again, pure in heart and mind. Don't play the reverse game, because that's what's in the New Testament. It tells you that the reverse game, they will appear to be pure, but they are not pure in heart and mind. Church won't tell you that because they're playing a game, a singing, causing others to fall. Again, that's in the New Testament. Again, it was very important for the Jews to understand the New Testament and take that information forward. They actually know it, kind of. Because again, Jesus got the information from being Jewish. And again, he is the Son of God. He's a Ben Elohim. He's a, some other people have gurus, some people have swamis, some people have the Pope, some people have preacher, pastor, minister. Again, I'm not worried. But again, don't play your games. You get nowhere. Again, the real good life starts when you leave this planet. When you leave, again, some of you, when you leave the body, will have some work to do. That's where the concept of purgatory comes in. It's not always necessarily purgatory. Sometimes it's funny. And in your life, sometimes people are confronted with funny situations that change them. They go, and then they're like, okay, God, I guess you exist. Right. Sometimes it's in the afterlife. What Hashem did with me is, my grandmother, she was afraid of the deep state. I didn't know anything growing up. I didn't know anything until I was like 40. So I'm at Bubby's house, my grandmother, Jewish Bubby. And she starts doing some things, and I'm like, okay. Like, she walks up next to me. I didn't say anything out. Believe me. I wasn't even at the point of speaking out. Except it was, Bubby knew I woke up somehow. I may have said a couple things. So Bubby walks up next to me, and she does what I call a George Jefferson. She takes her right hand, and she does, like, I don't know what they call it in the 70s. Remember how people used to walk? Remember how George Jefferson used to walk with that right hand? I just keep digging in while he's walking. Right. Well, she does that. She walks up and goes, bam, with the hand. She goes, there, see? And I'm like in shock. Because she's just verified that the healing and the magic hand exists. But she would do it in secrecy, her bank account, that kind of thing. So later, I'm on the phone with Bubby, and I don't even think I spoke about Yeshua ben David to her. I'm not that type of person. You're Jewish, fine. So I'm sitting there talking to Bubby, like 5-10 years later, and she's like, nobody raised from the grave, Larry. There's nobody that rose from the grave, believe me. I'm like, Bubby, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything. Yeshua ben David. Again, everybody calls him Jesus, but it's not his real name. So Bubby died, and she was dead for probably a good few years, maybe even a little bit more than that. And Hashem gives me a vision. Bubby's in her coffin, and she wakes, spiritually in her coffin. She's in the afterlife, and she's stuck in her coffin. and Bubby hears, nobody rose from the grave. Nobody rose from the grave, Larry. Believe me, nobody rose from the grave. And she's stuck in her coffin until she, says, okay, people rise from the grave. And then she goes to the next step. And then one of the next steps was, Bubby I went through the military training. And one of the grueling things in military training generally, for me, it wasn't a big deal because I worked landscaping for my father at home. We had a pretty big lot. I did a lot of physical work in my life. And so when I got to the Army, just another torture. And I was homeless for a little while. As a kid, my stepfather was evil to me and all sorts of stuff. So it wasn't a big deal when I hit the Army. But Bubby disrespected me. So she gets in the afterlife, and Bubby has to low crawl under barbed wire while machine guns fire over her head. So that was the other thing that Bubby had to pay for. And it was funny because when she was alive, she was getting to the end. She said, "Larry, what's going to be with me?" And I don't know what she knew about me or didn't know about me, because I had a great relationship with my Bubby until, I was not always there. I, moved into the government and the military, so I wasn't always around. But when I was around, I would always help her. And, but when I woke up, that was it. She would no longer associate with me because I didn't give up. I didn't give in. I didn't become them. I couldn't be around them, neither her or my uncle. So they were wealthy, and I didn't get any of their wealth, but that's that. Right. Not going to sell out for somebody's inheritance. I'll just tell you that. But she said, "What's going to be with me? What's going on?" I said, "Bubby, at the very worst," and I didn't know what she was talking about personally in my body, but Hashem was there. And I said to her, "Bubby, at the very worst, you'll have to go to Bubby school." What you didn't learn here to be Bubby, you're going to go to Bubby school. So she's in the afterlife in Bubby school. And Hashem, it's a spiritual world. So Hashem can take you through all these things real quick. Or it could last a while. But again, don't be a devil. That's the key. Failure is understood. This is a failed planet. No, trans people are victims of this planet. That's not a life that's very comfortable or very evil or very easy or very evil. You're not going to go to hell just because you're trans. There's nothing that's going to send you to hell just because you're trans. There's a whole series of things. God doesn't judge the body. Trans is the body. Right. God judges the spirit. Some trans people are absolutely, without a doubt, pure in heart and mind. It scares me so much that they are. And I don't know them physically. I know them spiritually. And I help them with whatever they're dealing with. Like I do. Again, it's not like, oh, he's reaching out to the trans community. Well, yeah, I do. And I reach out to the other communities also. If you're a Nazi, I'd probably talk to you somewhere along the way to try to get you to do the right thing. Now, of course, it's God. I can't do this as a creation. It's the divine within me that allows me to. It's the God's breath and God's spirit inside of me that allows me to do this. And that's where in the New Testament it's where it's confused. Jesus and God are one. And maybe his disciples didn't know the answer to that. Maybe they didn't understand. I don't know. Because I go to Hare Krishnas, they don't understand. I go to the Sikhs, they don't understand what was being spoken about in their scriptures. But no, I'm not worried about it. And it's not something like, oh, he's this and he's thinking about this and he had a Gobind Singh. I forget that as fast as I remember it. As fast as it happens, I forget it. Because it's not something I need to dwell on. I need to dwell on what the issues are and what needs to be fixed here. Not the fact that Guru Gobind, that I'm probably one of the only people in the existence that had that happen to him. Or in this part of the existence. No, Guru Gobind Singh and I are as close as Yeshua and I. I don't have a problem with it one way or the other. It's not something that I balance the be-all of my existence on. In fact, that was probably in Guru Gobind Singh's mind, giving him a couple good ideas. But again, it's Hashem, it's gone. The key is that there are some good concepts there. A lot of those drivers have Sikh names. I don't know if they're really Sikh. Right. The drivers that cause the accidents. So again, how does that work? A corrupt immigration system caused those people to be here. If they weren't here, then that would have happened. They would have never been here to get those licenses. So you see how corruption begets corruption. And then it begets some other issue. Again, the key is to fix the world, not to bring people into your little circle and have your little cliques and your little criminal enterprises in reality. So that's the scam. Break the world and force them to move here and there, and then use them as an army of corruption. No, we see each other as somewhat equals because of my spiritual presence and his spiritual presence. He was paid back with, and Guru Gobind Singh said, tell them about the other guy, and it's Sabbatai Zevi. So if you look in history, Sabbatai Zevi is better known than I am, but he didn't have the life that Guru Gobind Singh had. But he was same mind, doing the same thing. Because where can you get physically? And again, that's how God judges the planet. If God sends somebody, the level of life that they have will define how God sees your planet based upon input. Again, I'm not the poorest man on the planet. I'm the most ripped off man on the planet. You never paid me. You didn't even let me wake up till 40, and I should have woke up at 5. Right. I was already a good kid. So we'll go on now and we'll get to the prayers. Let me check my thing over here with the water. Looks like I need to add water. I contacted this. I bought some solar lamps, and they're pretty nice. They're like $80 a piece. But I needed light outside, and I didn't want to pay the electric bill to keep the light on at night. Wash that out. And you can't, he says, disassemble it and send it back, and I'll give you your refund. You can't disassemble it. I actually dented the pole trying to twist the pipes apart. So I told him, look, I need my refund, and I can't disassemble this. End of story. Work on it. It actually has, I actually bought the extended warranty, but it failed almost pretty quick. Within a month, it started to store questions. And then, I guess we're 3 months later, it's completely gone. If I had bought it on Amazon, he just would have shipped me a new one. Most likely. And maybe he's playing a game knowing that most people can't take this thing apart. The way the Chinese work it is they'll keep having hoops for you to jump through. They'll usually be pretty good and they'll make good. But every time he tells me to do something, I may not get to it. Send me photos. Okay. Send me video. Okay. Disassemble it and send it back. I might miss one of those steps because he's probably willing against it. But we're to the point where it does not come apart. Those pipes are sealed for some reason. They're welded with the weather, the inclement weather. No, it's a game of hiding the real people and saying that the power is this person and that person. The scam is to get me to support their program and then just give me nothing and keep me hidden. But again, I'm not going to, because that would be a sellout for me not to support a program that helps people just because I can't get famous or get money off of it. Right? That's who they are. Right. You just get your people out of the street. I say to New York City, Don't let your people get in the street and go after ICE. That's first off, it's unlawful. Second, it's very dangerous, as you can see. You have an obligation to tell people to stay away from firearms and law enforcement firearms, while being adversarial. I mean, that's insane. Right? That was a good shoot. The first video I saw, my heart sank because I'm like, yeah, it's borderline. Because even the guy on the left, if you watch how the vehicle was moving, it almost smacked him too. I mean, it hit him a little bit, but the tail end was moving over towards him. Again, the woman said it. It's what's called an excited utterance. Like if you were to charge the officer, which I don't think you can, but if you were to, that would be something that would be entered into court and be valid evidence. Because she said, "Oh, it's my fault," and it is. You shouldn't have forced her wife to go down there. Her wife, lived a more quiet life, and her mother was. I thought maybe her mother was either BSing or didn't know, but apparently she wasn't an activist. Her wife was. Right. And she may have been a little bit of an activist. I don't know. Because, I mean, the average citizen, when confronted by law enforcement asking them to open their door, they open their door. So, again, it takes something over the norm for that to happen. So, again, they're watching Blue Sky. They're watching Threads. And they're watching AI videos, maybe believing that they're real. In essence, being caused to fantasize about some power over law enforcement that they don't really hold. I agree. So some EYE agrees. Most people hear that in their head. If they're a seer, I speak it out because I really don't hear in my head too well. I think it's more honest anyway. Because they don't want you to know that those things exist for them. Like, they just walk into money. That's the way life works for everyone until they F you off. They actually maintain a vigil around me so I don't have any money. And they go, why do we do that? Because they're paid to do that. For every $1 million I don't make, they get paid $100,000. And yeah, I don't have any money, but that, here and there for now. Let's get to prayers. I'm going to end the stream and then I'm going to start it again.